Good evening and welcome to Chatbox with Sam. Tonight's guest is actress and writer Roberta Bassin. Hello.
Hi,
Hi Roberta, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be here.
Excited to have you on the show. If you were to inspire the younger generation, what would be your main focus?
Okay, that is a wonderful and an interesting question to deal with. Because my the facet of myself is that I I am a teacher. I have a teaching credential, and I am a performer. And I like to motivate and try to inspire people to go after their passions, their inner what their inner desire of because I don't feel that somebody can really be happy in life if they don't follow their inner passions. And what I would really like to put into the thought pattern of young people is that I really believe I speak a lot about going after your dreams because I do a one person show about Amelia Earhart, and she always said, I'm doing it because I want to. I want to do it because I want to do it. But in order to do the things you really want to do, you need to be free of financial worries and health worries, and you need a support system. And sometimes all of those necessities get lost in the idea of I'm just going to go after what I want. So I really would encourage young people to get a good education uh, and something that they can use to have a good living so they can't, or a skill in a trade so that they don't have to worry about their food, their rent, their necessities, their clothing. Because whatever profession they go into, you really need a financial basis. And acting, if it's that, if you go into any of the arts,
Right.
it's very expensive to continue studying and make pictures and do all the things that it takes to become an actor. And as you are in your career, you still need to do those things. The other two aspects I really feel are important also is that if you can have a support system, and that support system is just a few people that you may know from your schooling, friends, family, whoever that is, people that really care about you and have your back and can be supportive and just listen to you. And so I really feel, a financial basis, a supportive system, and a good education. But there's one other aspect that I feel is really important is to take good care of yourself, your
Right.
instrument. I'm a big believer in have a healthy lifestyle. I've always felt that way, and even though when you're young, a lot of times, you feel healthy all the time, but you want to be able, in order to do your best job, you want to have your instrument strong. And so a healthy diet and exercise, all of that. Once those are all in place, you can focus on what you want in life and go after your dreams. And I feel it's very important to go after what you want, go after what inspires you. And, I always say, why am I an actor? And I always say, did I choose it or did it
Choose
choose
you.
me? And I think it chose me because I've tried to quit a few times and I'm always going back to it. It's true, So, I mean, I think we're kind of programmed, but you don't want to have to deal with financial worries or health issues or feel that you're alone and there's nobody there when you need to talk to a friend. So
Right.
that's what I really think is
Oh,
important.
and that's a good word you said, focus. Because a lot of people have distractions from what they want to really do. And if they focus on the one thing that they need to do, sometimes life is going to go off course. The road is going to take us on another road. But eventually we'll get back onto the road where we need to stay on, I think that's very good advice, Roberta. How would you encourage the women that want to enter the industry?
Well, I, I don't see really any difference between um, men or women. It's going to be difficult,
Either way.
when
Yeah.
I first started, and
Hmm.
I took a class for a number of years called the Business of Acting. And the first thing the instructor said was, if there's anything you want to do instead of acting, anything at all, do it. And I think that's with anything that is this kind of a roller coaster profession.
Mm.
Um, so that's the first thing to really know. Okay, do I really want to do it? You can try it, see what it's like. Um, for I started. I always wanted to be an actor, a performer, an entertainer. When I was 10 years old, I was waiting in line to go out for recess, and this girl, I still remember her, Diane. She said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be an entertainer and an educator." And I also knew I wanted to have a family and marriage.
Right.
Um, and you know, and I thought about that, and I thought, well, I accomplished all those things. Those were
Yeah.
the things I wanted in life.
Yeah.
And, but I didn't become an actor until much later. I already had two children.
Oh wow.
And yes, and I was singing and dancing. I was what you call a triple threat in the sense that I was a singer and a dancer, and I had
Ballet.
gone for, you know, auditions when I was younger,
Hmm.
before I had children, and I was in college still, university, but I still had this passion to become an actor. And so I had a 5-year old and a 14-month-old.
Oh wow.
And but I think when women have a lot to do, like women seem to, the more they have, I mean, you hear women they have children, and I was fortunate enough that I had a wonderful partner, my husband.
Yes.
But single, like women who are single mothers, you always, they go to school, they raise the children, they
Yes.
take care of the home, they, and but there's this drive, when you are in your late 20s and early 30s, you seem to have tremendous energy and drive. And also, it's when you sort of change direction. Because I
Right.
think that, like I remember I wanted to be 28 forever because I said, I, I know a lot, but I'm still look good. So I thought 28.
That's awesome.
And
I
so
prefer that. That's great.
wish that was, but I'd say that, women, the things they have to deal with, and I think men do in a sense too, but I don't know that path. You
Mm.
have to really be firm in your I feel, in your morals, your ideals, and what you want, and that continues through life, and
Right.
and also what your priorities are. No matter what, my family was always my priority. I
Yes.
felt that my children were the most important. My family was my most important. I wanted whatever. I didn't want something to interfere with them,
Right.
and and so that always took precedence. I taught for a long, long time at the SAG Conservatory, which is at AFI, American Film Institute.
Hmm.
And I loved it. And it was a volunteer position. And I taught ages 6 to 21, like a one-room schoolhouse for acting.
Oh.
And I told them, I tried to point out that you have to do what you feel is morally right, not to do anything that goes against your own principles.
Right.
And that is hard to do if
Right.
you want a role. And I have been in that situation where you're going to be strong enough to say, no, this is not something that I'm comfortable with, whatever it is, if it's nudity or the type of scene you have to deal with, or working with some, whatever the situation is, a
Right.
prop that it can be dangerous, an animal that you feel is, it's an unsafe, there's not a handler, what, whatever the situation is, I try to inculcate in them that they have to be confident enough in themselves, and this goes for all women and all men, to be able to say, no,
No.
this is not a good situation, and you may be able to suggest an alternate, which is always good,
Mm-hmm.
an alternate situation for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or, anyways, I think that's really important, and that's what I would say is, don't give up your principles. Don't
Set a
give up.
boundary and stick to it. Yeah.
Exactly, that's what I
Just
would
compromise
say.
within your boundary. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, and I would say, but as women, you want to go after, you want to feel fulfilled, and sometimes when you have little children or you don't have children, and you, whatever your situation is, um you want to follow your passion, follow your dreams, and
Right.
and that has a lot to do with my show. I do a one person show on Amelia Earhart, and I also eventually, in the last years, I have a book out that has also about her journey and my journey, and that is has to do with a lot of the things she talked about and she espoused, which
Right.
was going after your passions.
So where can we buy the book?
Oh, the book is on
It's on.
Amazon.com, like everything else.
Right.
The book is entitled Amelia Earhart, Me and Our Friends,
Mm-hmm.
Journaling the Journey, the Amelia Earhart Self-Help Book. It's an incredibly long title, which I don't think I would do next time, but it kind of takes care of what it's about.
Right.
And it, yeah, it encompasses my journey. I've done my play for this version of the play for about 20 years. And in the last, people would always say, oh, why don't you write a book? And I'd say, oh, there are too many books. But then I had all this information because I'm constantly researching Amelia Earhart, the first woman to fly as a passenger across the Atlantic,
Right. She did.
in 1928.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so much information, all her quotations are always in my head. So I just had to put it down finally on paper. And so I wrote, it's a journal about my life and experiences, and integrated with knowing of her and her history. And it's a
Right.
pictorial history, and it has a timeline, and it does have, it's motivational, and even what's fascinating is a lot of the things she said, you think that that they would have been conquered by now, but she used to say, she'd talk at colleges and
Right.
universities, and she'd say about, the problem with discrimination in business, against women, and
Yes.
difficulty, and she used to say a pilot is a pilot, meaning, you know, I can fly, in her case, I can't fly a plane, but
Mm.
she would say, she can fly a plane, a man can fly a plane.
Right.
There isn't any difference. So,
She's
yeah,
right when it comes to
yeah. So
flying a plane.
the things she encountered, the words are just as strong and prophetic now as they were then, which is kind of sad to say, but it's true.
I know. I've actually seen a meme of an older lady saying, I can't believe I'm doing this again." And that's in 2020, no, whenever, the Me Too movement coming at you, because I can't believe I'm still fighting for this. And she was an older lady, very older lady, which shows that, it's been a constant struggle for equality. So one day we won't be fighting. we'll be equal.
It's much better. I mean, it's much
Yes,
better than I
it
remember
was.
my mother talking about, I mean, things, and and hopefully it will continue to improve, that we won't go backwards.
Well, you
That we
won't,
will go
because
forward.
women won't give up now. You can't go backwards when you've reached a certain point. You can give up when you're not getting anywhere and trodden down, like in 1928. That would have been a perfect time where but you got the suffragettes that chained themselves to the railings in London, so that was Emily Pankhurst, and so they fought for votes for women. And then you got the suffragettes in America, they fought for votes for women, and that was two separate countries fighting for the votes, and I think so they knew the English were doing it and the American women were doing it, and unity is a very powerful tool. Unity is very powerful, and I think it takes one to start a movement, and many can make a miracle, and that's how change happens. So.
And it's still happening. It's people are
Yeah.
still fighting in other countries, and they're at the beginning of the fight. In a lot of places, and
Yeah.
but that's a good. I mean, everyone keeps trying, and that's a good thing. So
It is.
I don't remember ever not wanting to perform. My mother used to say, and this is like when I was between 2 and 4. She used to say, I was always saying, "Mommy, mommy, watch me, watch me."
Aww.
I guess I was always looking for an audience, and always singing and dancing, and taking anything that had to do with performance and
ballet. Could you share your experience regarding the ballet?
right.
And
And today I
jazz.
took a ballet class because I take it 3 times a week, and I
You
take jazz
do?
twice a week. Yes, on Zoom.
Oh my
I I
gosh.
haven't missed any. And
Ballet is
that's,
so beautiful. It's such a beautiful, elegant dance.
I know that I started dance at about 3, but the ballet, my mother put me in a ballet class because she said I was such a jumping jack. And I think she loved the Rockettes of New York, the Rockettes that dance at Radio City Music Hall.
Okay.
And she used to see that because she was in New York when she was young. And
Oh.
so she wasn't a dancer, but she gave me educated dance. And I have always been so grateful because from age 5, which was the first time I was in a ballet class,
Right.
I never stopped. I just loved it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember even thinking about it. And I don't remember ever not wanting to take it. And even though there was a very, little small income, they gave me whatever they felt they would be good for me, that would be nurturing, that I was interested in.
Right.
And I've always been grateful, so grateful. And these, the desire to be an actor, the desire to perform, to sing and dance, and I always wanted to do that. I remember, this is really funny
It was
because
in
we're
your
going
soul.
down memory lane. Yes, when I was in grammar school at age 10, a little girl sitting next to me was a professional actor, and I said to her, I remember I was in. I said to her, "How do you get an agent?" My mother didn't know how to do those things. I
Yeah.
knew, and I went. There was a show called. It was a talent show. It was on Sundays on TV, and it was called Rocket to Stardom. And I had a little dance and a little song. Around the World in 80 Days was the song and the dance. And I went on. My mother took me down there, and I'm sure it had to do with me wanting to do that.
Yeah.
and auditioning for the show. And and so, my family wasn't a theatrical family. They but they were supportive in the sense of, oh, I'd like to do this, but I wasn't a professional child performer. This didn't the professional acting didn't start until after I had my two children, like I said,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I had my teaching credential and I had taught school, and but it was still, the desire and everything was still there. And for the women out there that are thinking, oh, I can't do this, or I'm too old, or
Like me.
it's too late for me.
Yeah.
Um, I remember thinking, you know, I just started the classes, and I had gone to a community class, a community acting class, not a professional one, the first one. And I said, I have to come late and leave early because I had to put the kids to sleep. And then I had to get home, I mean, I had to go back and forth. And that's how it started. And and I'm glad that I did it when I did it, because if I had waited till they were grown, um, the opportunities wouldn't. I mean, I'm not saying you don't get opportunities, but
But
it was apparently something I needed to do, and I studied for 5 years. I studied acting for 5 years, private classes, and then I started to go and get the agents and do all the business end of it. So that was the journey.
awesome.
And
Thank you.
you're indulging me to let me tell you about.
How has music influenced your life?
You know, that is such an interesting question, because asking an actor about that, I always thought of my interests in dance. And I had taken the violin I started in grammar school. They had a free program in public schools to choose an instrument, and I stuck with it um, all throughout schools, high school, and everything. And then I thought, well, I always thought of singing, dancing, instruments. I always thought of those as separate units. But I realized from the question you're asking me is that actually it all had to do with music, because to this day, like I took a ballet class this morning through Zoom, and when I hear the music, I can breathe, I can relax. I have to move when I hear music. And I think that music is like when it is in the background of our lives. And there's all kinds of things about thinking of what music is, because when I traveled to Europe for the first time, um, I had never heard so many languages surrounding me. And it felt like that was music, like different languages going from wherever I was going. And um, I think that when you watch a television show or a film, I have noticed that the films that and the TV shows that are successful have really good music. And many times, most of the time, I watch a show because I love the music, the introduction, the background, and our emotions are affected by music. And when a movie or a TV show is produced,
Hmm.
you 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 wouldn't be as excited if you turn off the sound and
Yeah.
somebody is running, or it's a romantic scene, or whatever it is, or it's a wistful scene. Without the music, you may not arrive at that feeling. And I think that for me, maybe that I don't the music and the dance, the singing, all the things that I always thought of as separate units, were really maybe basically uh, based on that. I love to hear the music. I um, when we were in person doing things, at ballet classes, they had many times a live pianist. And sometimes I didn't feel like going to dance, but I went because I could be there and listen to the music played by a person on the piano. And the dance was sometimes secondary. That was an added compliment, but the music always just takes me to another place, to a special place. And I think everyone knows that when they hear something, that a piece of music, and they associate it with important things in their life, you it really has an emotional effect.
I agree
I
with
think
you.
it's probably played a big role.
Hans Zimmer, he's amazing, and he's in a lot of background music in the films. And without that, as you said, it makes the film, it makes the emotion of the film. So I completely 100% agree with you with that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And music holds memories. You know, when there's someone in a room and not many people are talking, there's playing music, at least they can identify with a certain song or a certain sound, and get a silent room together. You know, makes a big
Right.
difference. Makes a big difference. So,
Oh,
um,
and can I add one other thing? One other thing.
absolutely, you can.
Do you know? Okay, I always play classical music when I eat lunch because it's supposed to help your digestion.
Really? Well, yeah, help.
Yes,
They say if you play Mozart when you're pregnant, the baby remembers the tune.
yes, and I love Mozart's my favorite. So
Is it?
yes,
That's awesome. Is there any part that you've played that you could see your own personality within that part?
well, I think that any role you play, it's always an aspect of you. It may be because only you have this. You are this person. You are this instrument, and you know nobody is going to think like you, look like you, speak like you,
Right.
or go into a character the way you are. But so you automatically, even if you say the characters I play are so far from who I am, that you'd say, well, that isn't any aspect of me. But what happens is you get into the character, and it takes you, what I used to say, on a ride.
Hmm.
And it's like anything in life, I think, where if you don't think that you would react a certain way to something, but then when that incident happens, you find out, oh, is that's me? I reacted that way because I don't think we know ourselves. I
Right.
don't think we know who we are, and all the things that make us up, until we are in a situation that maybe propels that. And my the first role, really, my that I did, and like I said, my son said to me, he was a little boy when I did get my this role, which was to play Lily in Barfly,
Aye.
um, which became a film classic. He said, you started at the top and now you have to fill in all the spaces, because I didn't have any credits. And that character was as far from me as anything could be.
Right.
She's an alcoholic bag lady. I don't drink.
Right.
I never, I never experienced these things, but, um,
Well, that was
but
that was good that
what?
you were able to perform that role, considering you'd never even.
Right. But but the thing is that you know, you study the character, you bring to it you what you can grab at other people, maybe other people's life experiences that you've seen or you understood or
Right.
you try, and also, you know, certain feelings, and you can extrapolate, and you know, I based her on someone, on feelings about someone I knew, not someone that was an alcoholic or a bad lady.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just went into character. And I remember one of the first interviews that was printed about me, and I I said that my dance ability really helped to make that character, because a dancer, someone, or an athlete, somebody who's used to using their body, uses
Right.
their whole body. You don't, you know, you're not a talking head, and the whole body was into that role. You know, I'm hunched over, I'm kind of a funny character, and um but you know, so you bring all these different aspects that aren't necessarily that experience, which I
Right.
know, like, actors always say, well, I didn't kill any, I'm never killed anybody, but I can play a killer, because you're
Yeah.
extrapolating certain emotions, and you pull it all together. So um I did, now when you say, you know, has there was anything to identify, so I'd say I do know, I did notice throughout my career that whatever I was going through, or wherever I was in my life, I tended to book those roles. In other words,
Right.
when when I had little children, I you know, I did play a mom, but there were certain aspects about what I was going through in different situations that seemed to connect. Maybe it was that the age, I was at the right age, but it felt like usually there was
Yeah.
some emotional aspect in my body that propelled the character, that helped develop the character. Clint Eastwood is the definition. He was 82 at the time, of cool. You know, that word never really meant as much to me as when I met him, because he literally was the, like, define the word cool. He really
Yeah.
did. And
Nice.
I would
Nice
like,
gent.
well, he was, he, everybody on the set, and that is from the drivers, you know, the anybody working on it, actors, stand-ins, everyone. When I arrived on that set, they said it was the best set they'd ever worked on. That he was just wonderful to work for,
Yeah.
and I'd never heard it quite like to that extent. And he was generous, as a director, and he has was funny, and um, yeah, and he was very, very charming, and physically, and he I remember he was explaining something, and he just got down on the ground and did like kind of dropped on the ground, rolled, and then came, you know, stood right up again, and he was he was he was really very warm and friendly and fun, but
Oh.
everybody loved him on the set, and he was very, very generous. And people I talked to that also did the play the film, you know, he'd take their suggestions, and I saw him do that. And even with me, you know,
Yeah.
he whatever the, you know, he consider whatever the actor thought about
Yeah.
the role, and he would incorporate, let you just incorporate it, you know. And I'm just thinking about, yeah, he's very, very charming. And you know, like Leonardo DiCaprio was the lead, and he was telling uh DiCaprio said, you know, I think I should do this at this point. There was of Washington. It was in the Oval Office,
Yeah.
and you know, and he said, yeah. And then when we, you know, I was working with him, I, you know, I did something, and he goes, yeah, a little more screen time. You know, so no, so it was a very positive experience, and then I saw Clint Eastwood a few years later, when he did the he did another film, and then we got to chat a bit and people started taking, took some pictures of us, and yeah, it was he was just always really.
Nice.
I'd love to do another picture with him. I mean, he's still working at it. He's still
Oh,
doing it.
bless
I
him.
hope we all can.
Yeah, very nice
He's
character. He
doing
seems
great.
like I've never met him, so I don't know. But when people say
Yeah.
positive things over and over, then it must ring true.
Oh yeah,
So,
no.
and
As
would you like to explain a little bit about the film Indictment, where that got a Emmy Golden Television Award?
Yes. Okay. So Indictment, the McMartin trial, we won the Emmy and the Golden Globe
Hmm.
for it won three Emmys,
Yes.
one for best movie for television. It won best editing, and then Shirley Knight
Mm.
won it for best supporting. And and I was thrilled to. I mean, she's a wonderful person. We got to know each other, and I Indictment was a fascinating uh, film, or you can call it television movie, to work on, because it starred James Woods at the time,
Mm.
and I was I played Judy Johnson. It was a wonderful role. It was one of the leads, one of the supporting leads, and Judy Johnson's child was in this preschool, which was the McMartin preschool, and it's a very famous case.
Hmm.
And the family was accused of child molestation of the preschoolers, and I was the woman who I started the case, and it was fascinating to work on this
Mm.
because um, the nation really felt that they were they were guilty of this crime.
Mm.
But after the film came out, I mean, we call them films. It was a television show, movie. The nation changed. It changed
It's
the
perspective.
uh,
Mm.
the perspective the perspective. And what I learned from that was how influential the
Hmm.
media is,
It is.
or television,
Hmm.
because the outlook for this movie of the week. I mean, not the movie of the week, but the outlook for this case was very, very much against the family, and it changed after the show was put on TV, and it was a fascinating production to be on. First
Mm.
of all, it pulled together every role that I had ever done. In this role, I was a mother, an alcoholic, a drug addict, and I went insane.
Oh.
So it pulled together everything,
Hmm.
um, and and then and Oliver Stone was the producer, and he always attaches himself to projects that are controversial. At least much of them are,
Hmm.
and he was producing this movie of the week, and yeah, we received tremendous acclaim for it. I mean, the
Right.
reviews were phenomenal, and I was up for best supporting
Yeah, that's
Emmy
awesome.
also. I felt really good. I mean, but the role was fascinating, and it was fascinating because of what was happening because of this production, in addition to creating this character. And she's a real person. These
Right.
are all real people, all of these people.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, it was a fascinating experience.
Oh. And you also worked on Shameless
Yes.
TV series,
Another.
and I know the very lovely Joan Cusack was in a few of them series for Shameless too, and
Right. And Shameless, it's another one of my bedraggled characters. This one, though, was a teacher. And so I could relate when you had said before, I didn't think of that. Yes, this you could say it was pretty close because she is just worn out, silly. She has this horrible class and she's trying, she wants them, she's trying to get some education into these children.
right.
You know? And she's just so worn out. And I've been there in an educational situation,
Right.
where the class is not up to standard, but she has her, she's a fun and interesting character, and she was she was somebody I could relate to,
Really.
when I had taught. So yeah, that's fun. That was fun and very and
And
interesting,
a
and
lot of
it
people
was
got
great.
a lot of people were excited about Shameless. I know they enjoyed watching that show. It was a big hit on social media. I know everyone was excited about Joan being there, but yeah. So I was that's why I brought it when I thought Shameless. I went, oh, that's I can hashtag and put that in there. Shameless. But there was another one too.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna.
the fun,
Sorry,
and it was very extremely
popular.
popular show. So yeah, but it's another glamour role, another
I know, and then you
another
were.
glamour role.
Well, people are going to watch them, and now they'll see you and then they'll go, oh, that's that lady, and she's blah blah. So you were also in. Sorry, I've got my glasses off. Um, so you were also in Criminal Minds and How to Get Away with Murder, and in TV series that you've been in. Would you like to share a little bit about them?
Um, I guess you call these procedurals. I
Hmm.
do. I've done a lot of procedurals, episodics, and you know, it's really fascinating to watch. You have a front row seat when you do these. You have a front row seat watching these phenomenal actresses and and actors when you work on a show as a guest star, or a recurring role in that sense. And I sometimes I just sit there and I think, oh, I'm so lucky to be able to have the opportunity to see these phenomenal actresses working, and these phenomenal actors working in their element, and you see the work ethic that is employed, because the greatest compliment I think you can give anyone in any craft, in a performance craft, is, gee, you made it look easy. And then you see the amount of work and dedication that the the people that have their series, put into this. It was just, I believe it was Criminal Minds. I might not be sure where, I what Mary, I think it's Mary O'Donnell. Watching her just in the table read alone was fascinating. And then in How to Get Away with Murder, um, watching um, the lead actress. I
Get a name.
Yeah. Are
Criminal
you
Criminal Minds.
No, but and then How to Get Away with Murder, it stars
Let me get it for you.
okay.
Wait. That's the thing. They won't see this. Hang
That's
on.
good.
I just put you back. I'm just gonna get it for you. How to Get Away with Murder. The cast is Annalise Keating. Um, is that the right one? Yeah.
No,
No.
the lead is I can put my glasses on and get it out.
Annalise, also a criminal defense attorney, selects a
Oh,
group of students. Is that the one? Yes.
no. For here, wait a minute.
Final episode. Frank DiFino.
No, I'm going to go to. I've never done. Let's see. Hold on.
Viola Davis.
What? Viola Davis. That's right. I don't know
Viola.
why. I always have trouble remembering her name. I don't know why.
I'm terrible at names too. That's why I'm getting that. So
Viola Davis.
we have
Viola
Viola
Davis.
Davis. So we have Jack Fahey, Matt McCory, Liza Wells, Liza Wheel, Charlie Weber, Carla Souza. Okay, so now we're gonna go back, and you can put her name in, and then I'll edit the other bit out, and they'll know nothing about it. So now.
Okay. So what I find fascinating when I work on these procedurals or in anything that I have the opportunity to work with is really getting the opportunity to observe these actors that we really admire, and seeing them in their element and how they work. And in How to Get Away with Murder, Viola Davis is so amazing to watch and see her work ethic. And she does every scene, every rehearsal scene with the actor when she's not on camera. She doesn't have to do this. You can have a stand-in do it, but she gives all she has to whoever she is working with, and she will, there's when I see these professional actors who we really hold in such high esteem, they do not have an ego about their work, in the sense that they work and do what they feel will make the production shine. And even the makeup artist told me when that she said Viola Davis will stay hours past the time she's shooting, so that she is being the speaking the role, her role, so the other actor can be filmed and have it come off well. Yeah, and I've seen that. I always found that the higher up the person was, the more successful, the easier they were to work with, the more kind they were, the more generous they were. To the other actors. I mean, that was my experience. I've had wonderful experiences in everything I've done with everybody I've worked with. I really have. I mean,
That
I'm
sounds
not,
awesome.
you know,
Positive.
it's just true,
Yeah.
and I found that always the case right from the beginning. When I did Barfly, Faye Dunaway and Mickey Rourke were the leads, and Faye Dunaway really took me under her wing, and we had quite a bit in common. We both had 7-year-olds, boys,
Yeah.
children, and she was just so kind, and yeah, everybody on the cast was really wonderful, and that was an incredible experience. Your first experience. I mean, that was just really funny because I really had only been, I think, on one set, and that was for a very small little film. And the story of Barfly is about Charles Bukowski, the poet, And so, of all people, they came. Charles Bukowski,
Mm.
and they walk. And of all people, they walk up to me and they say, "So, can you show us around?" And I, I didn't know. Everything was new for me. And so I got, yeah, and so I got to know them.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I got to know them, and he told me a lot of the behind the scenes, so to speak, in the writing of Barfly, because he wrote it. And my character was a real person, someone he actually knew.
Yeah.
um, she was a dregs of society.
Oh dear.
Yeah, the description was worse than death in the breakdown for that character. She was worse than death.
Oh.
And that's a war story in the sense, because um I like I said, I didn't really have any credits. I was just supposed to go in and be a look see. And sometimes innocence is bliss. You don't know what the rules are necessarily.
Right.
You're not supposed to do this and that. And I was sitting outside, waiting in the waiting room, and I was looking. The script was there to look at. I looked it over, and it's funny. It was just everything was in my corner. The secretary said to me, "If you walk in with that smile, you'll never get the role." Because I tend to
Yeah.
be positive and
And
full
happy.
of energy. Yes, and then I looked at the script, and it was supposed to be just a look see, I guess. And I went in, and everything that you aren't, I guess I didn't know better. I know I didn't know better. And they said, okay, well, and then they were sort of interested. And that was Barbet Schroeder and Fred Roos. Barbet Schroeder was the director, and Fred Roos was the producer. It was Canon Productions. And they said, well, can you read this? And I was in this character. You have to know her character. She's a very surly character.
Mm.
And I just said, no, I want to read this. And I pointed to it, and I grabbed a shot glass that was on the desk, an empty shot glass. One of the rules that you're taught throughout your education act is do not touch the desk. Do not touch anything on their desk. But I didn't know better. So I
Mm.
grabbed this little shot glass, and I read this scene they gave me, and they got all excited. And Barbet Schroeder, because he's Swiss German, I think,
Mm.
and he goes, oh, she's Lily, and and then I start laughing because I went in character. I didn't let them know that I was anything but this surly person,
Right.
and then 3 days later, the casting director called me, and that never happened again. None of this ever happened again. Not like this. And she
Right.
said, the casting director called, and she said, "You're their number one choice, and you just beat out Cloris Leachman, Madeline Kahn, and Sandra Bernhardt for the role." And I went back to my acting class, and the teacher said, "So how did your audition go?" And I very quietly said, "I got it." And they said, "Oh, you got the audition?" And I said, "No, I got the role."
That's awesome. How do you feel about what's transpired since COVID-19? And what was your experience of that?
Well, I try to accept what's thrown at us. In the beginning, we thought it was going to be a few months. And so I was already doing the third revision of my book, Amelia Earhart, Me and Our Friends. And um, so I thought, well, I better get this finished, because here I'm gonna have these. It'll be just a couple of months, and I'm not doing anything. So I'll finish that, and then I will. Also, I used to do a lot of home sewing. I used to make all the kids' clothes and the drapes and the
Oh,
bedspreads and everything, and I hadn't done that in a long, long time. So I made myself a little at-home wardrobe, and I called it Cute and Cozy Fashions. It wasn't for sale. It was just my little creativity, and I just I call it the slash and cut method. I create things. I have all this fabric that was my aunt's that I had gotten since, from her, received. And so I made all this little wardrobe of at-home fashions that were comfortable and cute and cozy. And then after I'd done this, months are passing, and you see, okay, this is going on longer. We completely
Yeah.
stayed home. We still kind of, I mean, I think I've gotten used to it. Everything's Zoom. So I took all my dance classes, my voice class, singing classes, and I did my acting classes all on Zoom. And I just kept doing that, and I'm still doing them on Zoom. I think it's our new normal.
Or the self tapes,
And
the
here we
auditions.
are, right? Well, and the self tapes were already part of the commercial world before COVID. It was for years already. It was going towards that. So the theatrical was not. Theatrical was when I mean film and television auditions. That was not as prevalent. And now, of course, it's all taped. You do your home videos. But what I did do was I did a few films at home
Hmm.
that were fascinating to work with other people. And we actually did, it wasn't my production, it was another gal's. Her name is Ashna Sharon, I believe that's her name, and how you pronounce it. And she created a series called The Quarantine Life. And in they're all separate, it's like an anthology. And so one of them is one that I had never done anything like that before. You had 9 people in the show. All 9 of us were
Hmm.
filming from home at the same time. And my husband, I'm right in this room. My husband there's a corner where the desk is, and he had a camera going, and we filmed them, and you're talking just like I am to you. And all these different scenes and all these interactions were done via the Zoom situation.
Right.
And it's really something because I would never have experienced that. That was, it is now, it's on YouTube.
Oh, good.
And yes,
Where
it
do
was
we find
called,
it on? Sorry, where do we find it on YouTube?
it's called, well, my segment was called Taran, Taran, Taran Who, but it was a series of shows, like an anthology called The Quarantine Life. And it was all done via Zoom with actors all in their homes, and it was fascinating, And I
Good.
also did I did another. Everybody did them differently. I did another little film with a director that I've done three. This is the third film I believe I've done with her over the years. I actually met her with doing for a film after I had done Barfly. So this is just a huge span of time I've done these films with her. Um, and in her case, we would film the scene here, we'd email it to her, she'd look at it, then she'd give me direction. She'd either call me or text me, and then we'd film it again the way she wanted it, and we did the scenes that way.
Yeah.
Um, and so I had a number of those experiences, and that was all something new. And I don't think that I don't think things are going to go back to the way they were. I think really this is a new normal.
No, normal. Hmm.
Yes. And I think, there's positives and negatives that come out of every situation.
Right.
And I look at this as a war, this is a war. And
Hmm.
in a war, you things progress scientifically most of the time.
Hmm.
New things come up, things move faster. And we're we're fighting this war against this virus,
COVID, yeah.
and and we're and there's been tremendous losses, and we're lucky to have survived it, to be able to be here, because so many have not.
Right.
I look at history, and I was a history major, and I love history, and history is why I think I was attracted to doing a play on Amelia Earhart, and the history of what happened in the 20s, the 30s. And so when you look at the history of the world, you have these plagues, and how they've devastated the populations, and they go throughout history. And if you read what was written in there was a plague, I believe it was in the late 1300s, but don't quote me, anybody. But it was, I think that was the Black Plague, but I'm not sure. But
Oh,
you read
okay.
it, and and what's written sounds just like it's today. The article has to do with people. What some people are supposed to stay inside, and they have to stay and protect themselves. And the article says, well, other people are saying, no, I'm going to live for today, and I'm not going to stay home.
Hmm.
And if you didn't have the date, you wouldn't know that it was written in another time, in another place. And
Right.
so yeah, history repeats itself, and people are human, and people don't seem to change.
Right. They don't
we
like it, do they?
we are, man. I was a history major because I felt you could learn from history. you
Right.
you learn from history, not to make the mistakes of the future, and in the future. And man is he hasn't changed, much.
History
I
on
mean,
repeat. Mm.
so hopefully we learn from the past, and we can apply it to the future, and make a healthier, happier, more prosperous world. We can
Absolutely.
all get along.
Well, thank you for that. That was a very good answer regarding COVID, and I love the fact that you're all doing that self film, self tapes at home, and that was all. And I did see an orchestra, and there was an orchestra, and they all got together on Zoom and played,
Oh,
and they
I
were all
saw
in. Did
that.
you see that?
Yes,
That
I
was
saw that.
amazing.
I saw
Yeah.
that. And in the beginning, well, I still, but in the beginning, I believe it was either SAG, a Screen Actors Guild, or the TV Academy had gotten all producers together, and it had to do, and they were all on Zoom. How are you coping with this? What are you doing about your shows? And they said, well, you know what? It's pushed our creativity.
Mhm.
They were enthusiastic about how can they use their creativity in new ways to bring entertainment. And it was really fascinating, and how they were going about it. And that what you saw, where the orchestras they were taking, they filmed the pieces at their homes, and they put the orchestras together. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
It was
It's
beautiful.
incredible.
But
And that isn't, I think that just moved us forward in technology and how we do things. And now people do not want to work, um, go to the office as much. People want to be able to work from home, because they found out, well, they could do this. And companies that formerly thought, people aren't going to do their job, they're not going to be as efficient, they need to be here from 9 to 5 every day.
right, yeah.
What they are, I think, learning is that people do get their job done. They just do it. It's just more efficient for the person,
Mhm.
especially like stay-at-home moms that are working, not
Right.
stay-at-home moms, but everybody. And also, I would like to point out too, when I said stay-at-home moms, that when I say go for your dreams or follow your passions, being a mother and taking care of your children is the most important thing there is that you could do, or taking care of somebody. And it's a dream too. It's a dream like any dream that you want in your life, and it should be raised on a pedestal. just like any passion you want to go after. And as a woman, if you want to be a mother, if you want to be a wife, if you want, and I'm saying those things separately because nowadays you can be those things separately, and sometimes by choice and sometimes not. Those things are equally as important and fulfilling and passionate as just any profession you want to go. And if you want all of that, then you should have the right to and the help to do that, to do anything you want to do. But raising of children to be good citizens, and because they are our future, and they are the ones that will take us and take us and take care of this planet and take care of the population and everything that we hold dear. So it's just a little bit soapbox on my soapbox here, but yes, so I
Thank you.
think that
I'm glad you added that bit in there. I'm gonna I'm gonna clip that bit and put it at the very end. And I've got one more question, and then I'm gonna ask you if there's any final words that you'd like to say to people out there for advice. Cheers. So, is there anything that no one has asked you in an interview that you would have liked them to ask you?
well, I'm pretty open and relaxed. Well, you're very make everybody feel very comfortable,
Oh, thank
and
you.
you do. And um, anything that anyone's ever asked me that hasn't asked me, well, I think that um, I, I I I think that you what I mentioned, what I hope to mention about is like everyone. I really hadn't talked about the idea that it's as honorable to be raising children and whatever job you do, if you're a single parent or you are have a partner, and all those things are very important. And every job, any job you do, which if is as long as it's an honorable job, it's an honest job, is valuable. And I don't care how whatever that job is, to be of service to someone. Our service workers,
Mm.
the people who do the pick up the the garbage cans, and people who work in the fast food restaurants, and people who are at the pinnacle where they're taking care of. There are doctors, our lawyers, and teachers. I always feel teachers do not get the credit they deserve.
No.
These professions, anybody who is of service or whatever the job is, as long as it's an honest job, and you are, no matter what, you have to work, you have to deal with it. I think that it should be respected, and everybody deserves respect. And if they aren't working, everyone deserves to be understood and listened to and respected, because everyone needs to be heard
Mm.
and listened to. But everyone, and we need to be heard, but we also need to listen,
Mm.
and be able to come together and respect each other. Um, and when I was raising my children who are now grown up, I used to talk to them, and I'd say things like, you know, um, we have to respect each other. You have to respect what I'm telling you, and I have to respect and listen to what you're saying, no matter how little they were, you
Yeah.
know, because they have their little, my aunt used to say, little children they have their little problems too.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just
Oh.
goes up. And, so yeah, I just feel that, we need to have respect and kindness, and to be listening to each other, and really listen, and not be, anxious to, well, my way is the right way. We
Right.
have to listen and think about it, and have an honest debates and honest consideration of each other. That would we can do that. We
Yes,
can. It's hard for everybody.
it
As
is.
soon as you own your own thoughts, that you invest in your thoughts, you believe in them. But we well we're all we should all be everybody wants the same thing in life.
Right.
They want the best for their family. They want to be able to be listened to and heard, and they want to be loved, and they want a good place to live in, and they want joy in their life, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I think listening is and showing you're listening, and that's just interacting appropriately within a conversation, which you can see that you've listened to the person and what they've said, rather than
And
just
heard them,
and
and that
heard
they
them. Yeah, and well,
you know,
hearing is absorbing what they've said and being able to repeat that, in so many words, or respond appropriately to what they're saying, is a
that's
huge
true.
factor, because everybody wants to be heard, especially when they're talking about something passionate that they care about. Always give people, and everyone's got their right to feel what they feel, and you can't take that away from them. And so I always think that as long as you're being kind and not mean to people, everyone's got the right to express how they feel and their opinion. And you can do it in such a way where you're not being rude or blatantly being unkind to someone. You can, if you just change your way you speak around, like, I feel this way because, instead of, you could just change a little bit and think before we speak. That can make a big difference to somebody else's life. What
That's
do you What
true.
do you think?
It's funny, you hit on something that somebody said to me years ago. You have a right to your feelings.
Mm.
You just said that, and it really touched me, because it was something that was said to me a long time ago, and I don't remember the context. And also, one of the keys in teaching, when I was getting my teaching credential, was, when you're working with children, and you said to repeat, and this is adults too, when
Mm-hmm.
someone has said something, if you repeat what that person has just said, they know them, that they've been heard, that you're not jumping in immediately to tell them, well, this is my opinion. I'm not saying I can do it all. I
Right.
try,
Mm.
but all those things, we're all a work in progress.
Absolutely.
And and that's back to the art and everything. And as an actor, like, you watch it. No actor likes to watch themselves necessarily. You watch with one eye, kind of, because you're always critical, and you always hear people say, well, I don't like to watch myself on screen. I don't like to, I don't watch my own movies.
Right.
That's because you're critical of yourself. I could do it better next time. I could do it better next time. you
Yeah.
know um it's kind of a funny thing.
It's funny.
So
I
we
don't like
all are
my
a
own
work in
voice.
you don't.
No.
Oh,
When I hear my voice in a recording, I cringe.
oh, you shouldn't. It
I do.
shouldn't.
I'm like,
Beautiful voice.
ooh.
You have a beautiful accent, British accent. That was very good, very good indeed.
Thank
And
you.
lovely. And and it's yeah, I mean, why do we use American voiceover? They use is always British to when they want something to sound elegant, when they want to sell a
Yeah.
car that's upscale, you have a British voiceover. So you know you should be it's very you should be proud of your
Oh,
voice and your
thank
speech,
you.
and you know um that's I mean
Well, I
I enjoy
love the
I was
American accent actually, and I was raised with
oh that's
a huge Irish family. So
oh so an Irish accent.
I was
Do you
raised
have
with
an
an.
Irish accent?
I can speak a little bit of Irish, me darling, just a little bit,
Oh,
just a little bit.
just a little bit.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've
Well,
got.
no, no, no. That's it's lovely, and Americans love British accents,
I
and
know.
maybe it's because when you're it depends where you're from. I used to say, I'm exotic, uh, in another country. You
Yes.
go to a country nobody looks like you, so you're exotic. In America, you're wholesome looking. I'm wholesome and down home, and it depends where you are. It depends where you are and what you're in the world, and that's like the way we see things in life. Um, every time I do my show, Amelia Earhart in her own words, the words and I wrote it, but they're all her words. So I'm a stickler for historical accuracy. Um,
Right.
I I do everything I can to make sure that I do as much research as possible to try to get the facts as correct and close to as possible, which is not easy, and it doesn't mean you always have them because even research, no matter how much you research, you may not get it exact, but I try to get it exact
Yeah.
as possible. Yes. And I always find the same words have a different meaning as I am a different age in when I speak them. Um, and when I am preparing for my first in person show since pre COVID, which I'm very excited about. But there's a line, and that says that she says that she didn't realize it at the time, but the cooperation of one's family and close friends is the greatest safety factor a fledgling flyer can have. And I didn't realize until actually this week, she's talking about, just like I said, you have a supportive environment. That was her safety net.
Hmm.
Just knowing she had a supportive, her mother was very supportive of her flying. And, you know, so each of her words take different meaning depending on where I'm at in my life. And I think that happens with anybody hearing things, or what we learn, or how we apply things. We apply them differently. We do things differently. We as actors or performers, we probably see things differently.
Yeah.
Raising children, you're a different parent if you had that child when you're in your 20s as opposed to your 30s, and now people have it in their 40s, and whatever age you how how you raise that child has a lot to do, I found, with the perspective you have at the time you have that child. And then
Exactly. Absolutely.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, and so when I do the play, or when anything I do, and how I would do it, has to do with my perspective changing as
Hmm.
I mature, and now I'm quite mature. At
Right.
least I
And
don't know if
me
I'm
too.
how mature I am,
I'm very mature
but
too. But you know what they say? You know, wine and cheese, it tastes better with maturity. Well, there you go.
yes, well, I'd like to think that there is something to be said about that.
Yes.
I hope so.
Uh,
But anyway,
it
so
suits me down to the ground, you know. That saying. I think, and plus, what if I knew then what I know now, it that saying rings true too. When I used to hear that a lot when I was a child, I used to think, why are they saying that? And now I'm like, oh, I get it.
Right, because
I
it's
get it.
meaningful. It's meaningful now
So
to you.
meaningful.
You know, anything, things change.
Yeah.
So I,
Well,
yeah,
Emilia, stroke of Roberta, because you're very entwined with a wonderful lady, and I think that's
I don't
amazing.
know. I really don't know how that happened. It's just an amazing.
It's okay.
It's
It was
just really
just it
funny.
was meant it was something that captured your soul and you went with it. And I hope many people on March 19th come out and see you. And it
Thank
will be
you.
going across the screen, and they can buy your book on Amazon, and they can look you up your shows on YouTube and IMDb. And you
Yes,
are
I
on and you are
am.
on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, on Instagram and Facebook, they can connect with me, and they
Roberta,
can learn more about me. Hmm?
you're at
And they can
Roberta
learn more about
Bassin.
me. Yes, Roberta. Oh, on Instagram it's Roberta.Bassin.
Mhm.
Um, but and Facebook is Roberta Bassin, and my IMDb, which is the Internet Movie Database. You can find out about anybody in the movie industry. All you have to do is go to IMDb, and you can learn anything you want about all your favorite performers and actors, directors, producers.
Oh, it's
And
been
Sam and Samantha and Sam and Chatbox with Sam,
Sam. Thank
who's
you
on
so much.
IMDb. She is on IMDb
It's
too.
I am, but only for the
Yes,
show
you
and stuff.
are.
I am on there just a little bit. So I'm going to put you just to you, so you can say goodbye to everybody, and then I'm not gonna cut you off straight away. I'm gonna just stop recording. So, is there any last words that you'd like to say to the audience before we say goodnight?
I'm just thrilled to be here. I would always say that embrace everyone in your life and tell them how much you care about them. Go after your dreams and your passions, and just celebrate yourself and your accomplishments. That we and just be grateful for every day and everyone in your life that you love and care about and who cares about you, and let's just make it a really beautiful world.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Roberta, and it's been such a pleasure to talk with
It's
you.
been wonderful.
And thank you for attending Chatbox with Sam. Have a wonderful week, and good night.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.